Welcome to Be the Light. I'm Denise Rezsonya, your show host, and we are here at the Wofford Theater in Noblesville. Today I'm joined by Luke Dunnuck from Sparta, Indy. Thank you for being here, Luke.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm so glad you could join us. So Luke has this really cool facility. I have been over there quite a bit, and if you haven't checked it out yet, it's in Fishers, or right next to Sky Zone, so you need to go over there and check it out. Again, called Sparta. So can you tell us what that stands for, the actual acronym Sparta?
Yeah, so we were trying to decide a name that would represent kind of what we do, and I do boxing and football, and we had one of the owners was a wrestler, and then a sports performance coach. So we were trying to figure out what would be a great name, and kind of went with the acronym, and it was speed, power, agility, and reaction time, and then went with training academy. So SPAR, which is something that you do in boxing and in wrestling when you go live competition in practice. So it just sort of hit that SPAR Training Academy, and then we said Sparta, and it was like, oh my gosh, that because that represents a certain toughness and a kind of a mystique, with the movie 300, and so since we do combat sports in the front and obviously the training in the back, it was just kind of a natural fit. So.
Well, before you and I met, I had never heard of Sparta. So can you just mentioned you have different sports. Can you kind of tell people what you're all about over there, what you've got going on?
Yeah, so, I was a football coach and a boxing coach. And when I say that, it means I have 6 sons and a daughter. And so my daughter's the youngest. And so, I had been competitively boxing myself and then coaching football when my son started to play football as a youth coach. So I kind of developed a passion for coaching and those two sports. So as time had gone on, coaching those two, we're trying to find a facility that could kind of offer that opportunity to other kids, because we were shuttling kids downtown to a boxing gym. So that's where the idea arose. And then, I started a youth mentoring business, and I thought, what a great context, sports with deeper meanings and purpose, in how to mentor kids and what's important. So using the context of sports, we created a sports training facility, and then obviously we do a training program on leadership, youth leadership, and so it allows kids to be trained up on leadership and actually use those principles, those leadership, that knowledge into their sports. They're already in a group setting, so it allows them to exercise the things that they're learning. So
okay, you've got boxing. You mentioned, I think, football.
Yeah, so we have traditional youth sports. So we have a 30,000 square foot facility, which is it's pretty big. It's bigger than it looks from the outside. Yeah. So we've got a 50-yard football field, soccer field in the back. So we do rentals and training for all of the traditional youth sports. We've got football, lacrosse, rugby, soccer. We've had baseball teams come in and use the facility. So it's synthetic turf with a rubber infill, so it's just like you would see on a high school football field. We do sports performance training on the side, which is we've got 3 to 4 sports performance coaches. They train on speed, agility, strength, reaction time, functional movements for sports, so they become better athletes. And then in the front, we have a lot of mat space. So we do karate, Tong Sudo karate. We do judo. We've got Muay Thai kickboxing, which is a Thailand-style kickboxing. We've got American boxing, and then we've got wrestling. And then we've got people that like to train in different disciplines, and they do all of them. So our annual membership, that's a full facility type pass, they can go in and out of those classes and do all of those things in the facility. Or they can specialize in just one sport. Now,
I've been in your facility a few times, and I've seen people all ages in there. So could like an entire family then come in and?
Absolutely. We have a family membership, which would be if you've got a family with multiple people, the most you would pay would be for 3 members, and then the whole family can participate.
So for people with 7 kids, that's one heck of a deal.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, my kids get a pretty good deal. So.
Cool. So you mentioned rentals. If somebody wants to rent your facility, how would they contact, or who would they contact to do that?
Yeah, they could call the office. Brian Griffiths is one of my partners, and he schedules out the training. And so you can train the field to exercise your own team, or you can implement sports performance training, which we have for some teams come in. They want us to train them for strength, agility, and speed and conditioning, and then they do their actual skill work on the turf. So we have combinations where they can just rent the space.
Okay. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about this whole philosophy at Sparta. It starts right when you walk in the door with your official Sparta handshake. Let's demo it for everybody.
There it is, and then you snug it in.
Now, let's explain to everybody what that's all about.
Okay. I as much as I love sports, I love kids and getting them to understand what it really truly means to be accepted. And, a lot of this comes from my own personal Christian beliefs in that, everyone is fearfully and wonderfully made, and that they're special. And so I implement that, with the culture of Sparta, in that when they walk through the door, there's no process of having to earn your way in. It's automatically you walk in, you're accepted. And so with
it
that,
puts everyone on even footing as soon as they walk in the door.
And honestly, with some of the sports that we offer, they see the boxing ring, and I've had grown men that said I've sat out in the parking lot 4 different times and didn't have the courage to come in, let alone the kids when they see that. So what they find is it's really counterintuitive. They walk in and they're welcomed with actually almost an invasion of proximity and personal space with the handshake. And so they're taken back by that, but it is truly a hug. They're welcomed. And we really drive that culture so that people can come in and really find themselves. And I think, especially with some of the combat sports, they have an opportunity to exercise courage in a safe environment without judgment.
Yeah.
And so whether you're 5 years old or you're 50 or older, you start where you're at, and then you've got caring, nurturing coaches that will develop you along the way and encourage you. And so there's no type of initiation process, and there's no knuckleheads that last at Sparta. If you don't like the culture, if you're difficult, you don't last. I mean, people that are difficult, they've seen their way out. And so, but people learn to love it, and some people, if they're not good at giving and receiving that love, they learn to appreciate it.
Yeah,
so,
well, like me. I mean, I kind of walked in that first time. I'm like, whoa, what's that about? Now I'm like, man, if I don't get my Sparta handshake, I'm like, where is it?
Kids are coming up. If I overlook it, if I'm focused on something else and I walk by a kid, they're like, hey, and they stop me and turn me around. So it's really, and kids come to hang out because they feel like they're welcome. And I wish we could have had some kids on the show. Maybe we'll do that next time.
Yeah. All right, well, we are going to take a quick break here, but before we do go to break, I want to thank our show sponsors today, Chick-fil-A, Noblesville, Jim Wofford, and the Wofford Theater. We'll be right back.
Great.
When Margaret and I decided to sell the old estate here, we had only one choice in signage: Logan Street signs and banners. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore, but rather located on 10th Street on the south side of Noblesville. Well, we sold the old beauty, and we were able to buy this wonderful estate. And we had so much money left over, I was able to buy this beautiful 1968 Eldorado Cadillac for Margaret. Only 472,000 miles. Margaret loves it because it's got those big seats and that heavy-duty suspension to support her svelte frame. Next time you're looking for signs or banners, call old Jim at Logan Street Signs and Banners, 773-7200. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore.
You're up.
Welcome back to Be the Light. I am Denise Rezsonya, your show host, and again, I'd like to welcome back Luke Dunnuck. Thank you so much again for being here,
Thank
Luke.
you.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit kind of about the sports and offerings that you have over there at Sparta in our first half, but let's talk a little more about your leadership training and how that all ties in.
Okay. I can tell you, I think from the leadership standpoint, addressing problems that we're seeing in teenagers is really the passion behind it. And I think one of those, you hear bullying. Bullying's a problem, and it comes in many forms. And so one is I would consider those trained at Sparta are bully busters. I mean, we look for kids that are disenfranchised, in the schools. We have our kids that do that to reach out to those kids and really address, the bully issue. The second thing that we do is teen mental health is a passion for not only myself, but all the kids that go through there. We've got kids that have done fundraisers and are involved in different leadership groups, like with Community East, and their Teen Mental Hero for Zero, as it relates to suicide awareness, taking out the stigma and the some of the thoughts around suicide that keep people from talking about it. And so the kids are active in that area, and they're also they're almost activists as it relates to that, which is fantastic. So that was the backdrop, and that's why. And so when you take kids that are socially aware and conscious and are aggressively reaching out to kids that are in need, I think that's a culture shift and change that we're not seeing in the schools.
I agree completely. Now, one of the things that you talk about with your students there is the golden philosophy. What is that?
Yeah, so our leadership program really starts out and builds around individual leadership, lead yourself, and then organizational leadership, how to lead others. And so as we go into kind of the first week, which is identity, really understanding who you are, and then how you view yourself, and then how you view others. And so golden rule everyone's heard of, which is treat others the way you would want them to treat you. And generally as a rule set, you can tell a kid to do something, and as a rule, they're going to want to rebel. There's a certain mindset that says, hey, don't touch the wet paint, and then makes a kid walk out of the room. They're going to put their hands on that wet paint.
I was that kid.
Yeah, so you put a command out there or a law that says, hey, treat others as you'd want them to treat you. Well, they in their mind, they might question, well, they're going to have to earn it, or why should I, or what? So our whole philosophy is to make kids think. And so the golden philosophy comes before the golden rule. And so golden philosophy is to view others the way you would want them to view you.
Okay.
And so in that identity training, which is the first week, we talk about you are fearfully and wonderfully made. You're special. Everyone in that class is different and brings a whole set of personality and experiences and just chemistry, who they are, to the table, and they're worthy, and that's the bottom line. They are worthy, and we make sure that they know that. And so if they see that about themselves, they need to transition that onto, that's how they view others. Hard to bully somebody that's fearfully and wonderfully made, and that's special. And if you view them that way, then you're going to treat them that way. And so getting them to view them the way they would want to be viewed, getting them to think in an otherly fashion. Hey, I'm okay, now I can look at others as okay. And so I think for that is, as that starts to take effect, we're seeing an inclusive attitude from our kids. When I get feedback on different sessions, it's like, all right, how are we doing out there? How are things at school? And they're going, you know what, I talked to someone I've never talked to before. I looked at somebody that was completely different than me, had different interests, and I approached them in a friendly way, in a way that was with the purpose of connecting. And so when you can get kids to see things differently, they act differently.
Yeah. And I know, having sat in and viewed and listened to some of your classes and the discussions that you've had with teens, I'm so impressed with how interactive they are, with how respectful to one another and to you that they are, and the quality of the information that they're giving. I mean, it's just amazing. And that's something that, I absolutely love how Sparta kind of caters to the whole, mind, body, spirit, the whole package for
Absolutely.
Our teens. I love that.
Our final session in the 10-week series is on culture. And I coached a football team called the Knights, and it was a local team in Fishers that really that whole youth league was the elite level of 5th and 6th grade all-stars. And I inherited that program from a guy named Rob Duffy, who was a West Point grad. And so he implemented discipline into the culture of that program. So when I took it over, I inherited that culture, and I put my own personality on it. But I can tell you, in all the years I coached that team, we had zero discipline issues with kids that are 5th and 6th grade. And I was like, they came in with a certain understanding that, hey, this is how this program works.
Yeah.
They respected the culture going into it. So we try to develop a culture of inclusion and of really self-worth, and the fact is of kindness. And so when you've got, in Sparta especially, you've got tough guys that coach and tough ladies that coach. We've got a Muay Thai instructor that is literally one of the toughest human beings I've ever met. But you'll find people with confidence. If they have a kind heart, they have the amazing ability to impact people. And so they come into a tough environment, but they're very respectful. They understand the culture and they adjust to it. Because if they don't, they stick out.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I encourage kids to develop their own culture. That's the whole thing. Impact the culture you're in. Create that culture when you have your own family when you're an adult. So anyway, pretty excited about that.
Now you mentioned Fishers. I think that something really important to note is that you are in such close proximity to Sky Zone that you serve the whole Indianapolis area, really. I mean,
That's right.
if people are in Noblesville, Carmel, Fishers, Indy, they can all get to you pretty easily.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We have kids that come in from Fort Wayne to train.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And a lot of the folks that come to Sparta train for their discipline. I mean, we have coaches that, from a technical and acumen standpoint, they build competence into the athletes, whether they're football players or boxers or karate, anything that they're interested in that we offer. Our coaches are top-notch technicians. So the culture that surrounds that, so it is just a plus. And we're like I said, we serve students. They come in from Fort Wayne, really that whole northern belt. We get a lot of Zionsville kids, Carmel kids, Zionsville. We've got Lawrence, and then we serve kids coming from the south side too. So, we take everybody.
Awesome. So again, if they want more information on your organization, what is your website?
Website is www.spartaindy.com.
Okay. And my website, if you want more information on what I'm up to these days, is www.denisemrezsonya.com, which is DENISEMREZSONYA.com. And actually, you can catch me in just a couple weeks over at Sparta. I'm going to be teaching a self-esteem course for our young ladies over there that I am very excited about. So I thank you so much for tuning in today, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.
Sparta handshake.